Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Tanaka engine drill, TED 262R. TED must stand for Tanaka engine drill, and 262 I'm guessing is a 26cc, and the R means it has a reverse feature. Customer complaint is that it starts without choke. It's kind of a weird complaint, but it's a fuel-related one. The choke lever itself could be jacked up or mislabeled, or we could have some kind of internal carburetor problem. So just looking at the writing on the air filter cover where the choke position is and the physical opening of the choke, I mean, that's all labeled properly. I've seen some aftermarket or low-end machines where you can actually get the choke, or I should say the air filter cover, put on there wrong or upside down or whatever, and it would appear that, choke is non-choked and vice versa. Everything on the surface looks normal here. Let's see if it runs. Okay, it ran. Some observations. When I would pull the trigger, there'd be a big puff of smoke. When it would be left to sit and idle, it would eventually slow down. You'd pull the trigger and there'd be a puff of smoke. So it was running rich. And the longer it ran, the richer it got. And eventually it would have died. So we're going to look into the carb and find out why this thing is running rich. Our intake insulator, we're just checking the screws here to make sure that it's tight. Which would have nothing to do with running rich, by the way. It would be just the opposite. But it's something I always check when I get to this point. With the piston in the top dead center position, I can look under the skirt and see the cylinder wall on the exhaust side, and it looked fine. And it looked nice and oily and shiny in there. So my guess is that the engine's good and the fuel system needs attention. Just dumping the gas out of here, because them lines look old and hard. Let's fish this filter out of the tank. Nice! It squirted all over the place. So check out this piece of rubber hose that was in the tank. You got the flexible end that was outside the tank. Let's get a piece of that fuel line was living in the tank. Here's the filter and some line. Look at that. It breaks right off. It's absolutely brittle. I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw a fuel line that brittle. So I was just, I actually did this at the end of the repair here, but I stuck it in the middle of the video. I wanted to show you just how brittle that line was. We're just going to lay a piece of this rubber, mind you, fuel line on this, it just shatters it. It's crazy. I can pound this fuel line into a powder. And I made my point, but I'm just having fun smashing fuel line. Crazy. Alright, so if the fuel line is that brittle, what do you think the inside of the carburetor is like? You know, we heard it run. So how bad could it be, right? This fuel return line that goes back into the tank, I mean, this plastic line is in pretty rough shape too. I can't even push it off of the fitting there. We'll give it a little cut with the razor blade and see if we can get it off. Crazy. Alright. The grommet came out with the line, and it's just really stiff. It's about due. So we've got another grommet. This is the one that the main line with the fuel filter on it would pass through. Grommet itself isn't in too bad a shape. Let's dig into this carburetor. If you follow this channel, you know that I usually scribe these carburetors before I open them up. It's just an old habit, and it allows me to put it back together in a proper sequence or orientation without having to think about it. You might also notice that I've gone back to using my old cordless screwdriver. The new snap-on pistol grip one. It works good, but I still like this one better. So here's our metering diaphragm. It's pretty stiff. It doesn't make a lot of noise like it's stiff, but it's bad. I mean, I don't see any other issues in the carburetor. There's not a lot of dirt or gunk, or they've never used old fuel that I can tell. There's no stink in the tank. There wasn't any signs of old fuel on the piston skirt that I could see either. Now here's our new fuel filter. Here's our carb kit. We're just going to put a kit in here, get it back together, and see how it runs. Alright. We got a couple different layers here. First, we're going to look for our fuel pump membrane. Nope, I take it back. First, we're going to put our new micro screen in here. And we just need to seat it into place. You don't really need a specialty tool for this, although I have one. Alright. Fishing through the gaskets, you get a lot of choices here, so you got to make sure you grab the right gasket. That's our fuel pump membrane. And here's the gasket that backs it up. That was easy. Now we're going to have, we're going to do the metering, or the needle. Well, it looks like we're going to replace the needle. Just loosen up the screw. And in this case, I'm going to use a little needle nose pliers to pull things apart. There's the old needle. Here's the new one. You notice it's got a bit of a silverish looking coating on it. And a lot of times I'll clean that off with some carb cleaner, but you know, if your hands are oily enough, you can just kind of wipe it clean. So we've set the spring, got the needle in the metering lever, slide the cross shaft underneath the lockdown screw. You can't really see any of that happening, but it's what's going on under my fingers there. And once it's all in place, we just run the screw down. Looks good. Metering lever height. Looks good. We can measure that. But we're not going to, because it looks good. Lay down our metering chamber gasket, and then you'll notice that the metering diaphragm really doesn't match the gasket. It's got like a flat edge that kind of doesn't look like it lines up properly with the gasket at all. There's a hole there that the gasket kind of goes right through. But that's the way it goes together. And here's the old one to prove it. You'll see that hole on the edge there. But the metering diaphragm itself is flat along that side with no area where that hole would be. So don't get hung up on that. Just be aware that that's the way it goes together. All right, once we lay the pump body in place, we can add the primer or purge bulb. Now, surprisingly, this purge bulb, even though it's a little bit dark in color, it felt really good. I mean, I know all the fuel lines were bad, the metering diaphragm was stiff. I got a feeling that this was probably the first victim and it was replaced at some point, because it's definitely not as stiff as the rest of the rubber parts on this. So there we go. We put a kit in the carburetor. Kind of doing a little bit of house cleaning here. All right. Our first grommet going into the tank. And our second grommet, a little bit different style. What we're going to do is use some seal all to keep it in there. The grommet itself is pliable. It's not cracked or brittle or anything like that. I think it just shrunk. Well, I don't have a grommet like that to fit that size hole in a fuel tank. So I'm going to use this seal all product. And you'll see that this stuff doesn't dry hard. That big chunk there that did dry and held the cap on, it's still pliable. And it's fuel resistant. I've used it a lot. I don't have any problems with this product resisting fuel. I've even smeared this over wet leaks on metal fuel tanks and got it to seal. It was a pretty decent product as far as fuel resistance goes. So I guess I left that first grommet. I didn't think I liked the way it felt in there, but there it sits. All right, we're going to have to cut some fuel line to length here. I just got to kind of decide how long I want it. This black rubber hose is going to be the main one that the fuel filter will be on. We're going to cut a taper on the end of it and try and push it through the grommet. Doesn't really want to go. Now this product here is called P80. It's a rubber assembly lubricant. A viewer named Jonathan sent it to me and asked me to try it out. So let's see what it does. I mean, that worked really nice. It pushed it right through there. So it does appear that the P80 works good as a rubber lubricant. Now, is it any better than any other type of lubricant that I've used before? Like, I've used some petroleum-based products, and they work just as well. Alcohol works just as well, but this is designed for use on rubber, and it doesn't, like petroleum, it's not going to affect the rubber in any way. So it's probably the proper product to use in this situation. This is one of the first times I've tried it. It seems to work pretty good. Not necessarily recommending it. I'm just saying so far so good, right? All right, I just wanted to jump in here and tell you about Jonathan sending me that P80 in the mail. When I got it, it looked like somebody had monster trucked the package. And when I opened it up, it was just a mess of P80 squished all around the inside of the package. And some time had passed, and Jonathan emailed me and asked me what my opinion was of the product. And I had to tell him that I never got to use it. I had to throw away the package. And he sent me some more. That was pretty nice of him. So the second batch came, and that's what you see me testing here is the P80 rubber lubricant, assembly lubricant. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it seems to work pretty good. And obviously it's the right product for use on rubber. When it dries, it evaporates. It doesn't, act on the rubber like the petroleum products do that I've been using. So thanks, Jonathan. I think I might have to buy some of this in bulk myself, and maybe we'll come up with a better applicator or something like that for use on rubber hoses, but seems to work pretty good so far. So we got our new filter on and in the tank. Set it about the depth we want, laying on the bottom of the tank. And we'll just flush cut it here at the length we want. We can always pull a little bit of line out of the tank or push some back into the tank if we have to. Now our return line. We see if we can push it in there. It's not really going in so great. I don't know why I didn't grab that P80 and try it. But there you go. All right, now we're going to put the gasket that goes between the insulator block and the carburetor. We're going to put that in place. What I'm doing right now is I'm just orienting everything. I mean, there's a pulse hole in that insulator block. And the gasket's got to line up with the pulse hole, and the carburetor's got to line up with the gasket. And I'm just confirming that everything is lined up properly. You know, if you put the gasket on wrong, and I don't know if you even can in this, well, you could put it upside down, I suppose, but flip-flop left to right wouldn't matter. I think it's symmetrical. But it doesn't hurt to take 30 seconds and examine things and make sure it's proper. And you get that 30 seconds back in the end by not having to take everything back apart and figure out where you screwed up, right? All right, our main line gets pushed onto the barb of the carburetor. Our return line is going to get trimmed to length. Push that on the carburetor. And there we go. We've got a kit in the carburetor. New rubber fuel lines, a new fuel filter. We'll get this carburetor screwed down into place. Just taking a look at the gasket, making sure it didn't shift on me. We're going to put the throttle cable in now. Pushing the cable through the adjusting screw without pushing the cable into the sheath is what I was struggling with right there. All right, we just got to get the ferrule of the cable into the holder on the carburetor. Yeah, that looks good. Checking the free play in the throttle lever. It kind of seems okay. Not really sure if I'm happy with that or not. We got the carb screwed down though. I keep going back to that trigger. Looking at the primer bulb again, it seems pretty decent. Let's get some fuel in here and see if it's going to run. Alright, get the cap on here now. Let's see if this thing primes up. At first, it really doesn't seem to be priming too well. But then it catches and we're purging the air out of the system. Alright, I definitely need to make some throttle cable adjustments here. It's just not right. I gotta bend the cable on the end here and maybe move the whole thing in the zip ties a little bit. There's just not enough slack there and the thing won't idle. But you notice that the idle didn't load up like it did before. So I'll make these adjustments and then we'll try this again. And if it runs, then that's all I'll have for you on the Tanaka TED 262R engine drill. It needed some fuel system attention. Thanks for watching. Later.